You've heard the words mid, side, stereo, LR panning, and so on and so forth. And when I first started mixing, those words were difficult to grasp. I felt that it was those geeky terms that whenever explained, I felt distance. So therefore, if you have this feeling, you won't have it when you're done watching. Let's go. Hi, I'm Ole from Subphotic.com, where I try to help rappers and producers get the best sound as possible when they make their bangers. And as a supplement to this video, I have a free mixing cheat sheet that you can download. The link is in the description, where I break down my mixing workflow into 10 steps that you can try and apply with your own mixes, and 15 cheat codes to a better mix. Download it, it's free. Now, look at this definition. Stereo comes from Greek and means solid. In audio, stereo is something that makes you feel that the sound is coming from different places. Like, for instance, an orchestra, you have the flute section on this side, and then you have the cello section on this side, and you will get the stereo impression naturally. But when you have a sound speaker system, that has to be manipulated, especially when you're working with digital sounds. You have to kind of fake it using panning and such. So stereo is when you feel that the sound is coming from different places, whereas mono is when you feel that everything is coming straight from the middle, because there are no differences between the left and the right channel. So put simply, if you have any difference between the left and the right channel, you have stereo sound. If the left and the right channel are identical, it's mono. And you can check out this video right here, where I dive deep into the universe of mono. Go check that out. Now, what about mid and side? Everything that is in the mid is mono. So what a mid-side processor do, like this one, you can see here, what it does actually, when you make an EQ node like this and you put it in mid mode, it will only respond to whatever is identical on the left and the right speaker. It will leave everything else be. It won't touch the sides. It won't touch anything that is different between left and right. On the opposite side of things, if you look at this node right here, you see that this only touches the things that are different from the left and right channels. This is the side signal. Whatever I touch with this node will only happen to whatever is different from left and right. So that's basically is mid and side. What we'll do with the mid and side processing is usually EQing and compression. So you can choose to only compress the mids or only compress the sides. I will come back to that in the examples. And then you have left and right. Because on this EQ, the Pro Q3, you have the option to only process the left side and only the right side. For example, in a stereo mix, I can choose to only compress the right side or only the left side. Or I can use different compression techniques. And I'll come back to that in the examples. Coming up, I have 3 examples for mid processing. I have 3 examples of side processing. And I have 2 examples of left and right processing. And my challenge to you is to figure out a third way to process left and right. So start thinking about that now. Have it in the back of your mind, and I will come back to it afterwards. Mid treatment number 1, enhance or decrease vocals. By this, I mean in the mastering stage, where I don't have access to the mix session files. If I want to decrease or increase the lead vocal, I can find out where in the spectrum that lead vocal is most prominent, and I can grab an EQ or a compressor or a dynamic EQ, and I would compress in that area, whether I want it to be enhanced or decreased in volume, like so. Mid treatment number 2, enhance or decrease the snare. Again, I would use an EQ to find where the snare is most prominent, and I will use a multiband compressor or a dynamic EQ. I wouldn't suggest to simply cut in that frequency because it will affect other elements as well. The snare is usually one of the loudest elements in a mix, especially in that frequency range. So I could safely use a dynamic EQ, and whenever the snare hits, it will be lowered in volume. Or I could expand it using these tools. I would enhance the presence of the snare. Mid treatment number 3, enhance or decrease the kick and the bass. So I will do the same again. Using my mid EQ, I would find the kick and the bass, and I could do the same. Using dynamic EQ or a multiband compressor, expand or duck the kick and the bass. The kick and the bass usually lives in slightly different spaces. So in theory, it might be possible to enhance only the bass or only the kick, but it's only subtle. You will eventually affect the kick if you're trying to just get more bass. But you can do a maneuver like this where you increase or enhance the low end with a multiband compressor, and then you go afterwards with a dynamic EQ and really focus in or zoom in on the kick where the kick is most prominent, and then you decrease that in level so you get the best of both worlds. Kind of sort of like the Pultec trick, only in a very modern setting. Okay, so that's the third. And then comes the sides. Side treatment number 1. Clean up the low end without sacrificing the stereo content. This is simple. It's making a high pass filter, put it on sides, pulling it up until everything becomes cleaner. I wouldn't go too far. The sub frequencies is 100 or 80 and downwards, but it really depends on the mix, how many elements you have present, and if you're doing it on the whole mix or only on buses or individual elements. So for example, if you have a drum loop or if you have a loop that consists of chopped up samples that has a stereo image and you need that stereo image for your mix, then I would suggest to cut the sides in the low end. So you don't make the whole thing mono, you only make the low end mono. Which leads us over to the second treat the sides. Clean up a drum break and simply lowering the sides in the low end and maybe boosting them a bit in the top end just to give them more width in the higher frequencies. But it also really depends if it's a low quality on the samples, on the drum break samples. If it's, for example, ripped off from YouTube, you won't do that with so much luck. It won't sound that good. But if you've ripped it off an old record, it might do you well. And the third treat the sides. Enhance width. So you can basically use side processing to expand the width of the song. Select a high shelf filter like so, and then you boost it, and you could put it in dynamic mode to make it more transparent. You can also use a multiband compressor for this. It will basically be the same since it's a high shelf filter and not a bell. And then you can experiment with how much you're going to compress eventually. And now we're over to left and right processing. Left and right processing number 1. Increase or decrease width. Take a node on maybe 5K, and then you take another node on 2 or 3K, and then you boost both about 1 or 2 decibels. And then you put one of the nodes on the left side and one of the nodes on the right side. Experiment with how much you boost. Make sure it's not harsh. Make it dynamic if possible, like so. And it's more transparent that way. You won't touch that much. It's kind of expanding both sides, but with different frequencies. And it really makes for some stereo width because you're expanding differently on both sides. And you increase the difference between left and right, making it wider. Try it out. It's great. Treat left and right number 2. And this is for cleaning up maybe a drum sample or a loop consisting of chopped breaks. And sometimes, especially when you sample stuff from the 50s or maybe the 60s, they used to do some wild stuff with the stereo. When stereo first came to the music industry, they did crazy things. They would have all the drums on one side and all the guitars on the other side. You could really filter out the drums by removing one of the sides, just panning everything to the left. On really old samples, you can isolate the drums by hard panning everything to the left, and then you can bounce the track as a mono file, and then you will get like sort of a stereo file which is mono with just the drums. But for drum breaks that are the really old drum breaks that has crazy stereo stuff going on, you would have a lot of hiss on one of the sides. You can use an EQ only on the left side or on the right side, wherever the hiss or the unwanted noises is. And you can duck that using an EQ. And then you would bounce it, making it mono, or you would make the whole thing mono afterwards with another plugin. I have a concrete example right here, so listen up. Now, treat the left and right number 3. I don't have it. I hope you have. Let me know in the comments. If you had anything out of this, please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Maybe you want to share it with a friend that you might think needs this. And if you haven't already, download my free mixing cheat sheets. Link is in the description, as always. And finally, I have some tips for you. Go watch this video about width, where I go even more in depth about how to make a mix wider. Go to that video to check out how to use mono to get better mixes. And I also made a video about mastering for beginners, because in this video we've touched upon some mastering tricks, and I've broken down mastering really simple. So I have just the basics, and that will get you a long way. If you feel mastering is something that is like something of a dark art, I strongly advise you to check that video out. And with those words of wisdom, I wish you all the best, and thank you so much if you're still here. I really appreciate it, and I hope I see you soon.